Welcome to In-Silico Trials Real Impact, the In-Silico UK podcast that's revolutionizing the way we think about medical innovation. I'm Professor Alejandro Frangi from the University of Manchester, and I'll be your guide through this fascinating world of in-silico technologies. In each episode, we'll dive into cutting-edge research and groundbreaking news that are shaping the future of medical product development and regulation. From computational modeling to simulated clinical trials, we are exploring how digital approaches are transforming healthcare, making it safer, more efficient, more equitable, and incredibly precise. So, whether you're a researcher, regulator, a member of the public, or a patient representative, or simply curious about the future of medicine, tune in as we unravel the complex world of in-silico methods and their real-world impact. Get ready to discover how computer-simulated trials are leading to very real breakthroughs in patient care. In-Silico Trials, Real Impact, where algorithms and data are saving lives. Let's begin.
All right, welcome to the deep dive. Today we're going to be talking about something pretty important, at least here in the UK, where the jobs are and where the skills are needed, both now and going forward, in the life sciences and health tech sector.
Yeah, that's right.
If you're listening to this, you're probably interested in this area, but maybe you want to get up to speed quickly without getting lost in all the technical details.
Exactly.
And that's really what we're aiming for today.
Right.
Our guide for this is a report called Life Sciences 2035, Developing the Skills for Future Growth. Think of it as a really in-depth analysis that lets us see what's driving this really vital part of the UK economy.
Absolutely. In this report, it gives us the data we need to understand not just how many jobs there might be in the future, but more importantly, I think, what that means for the UK as a whole, where we might grow, where we might struggle to find the right people, and increasingly things like in-silico technologies, which are becoming more and more important.
Right, in-silico technologies.
Yeah, I mean, basically, it's using computers to simulate biological processes. Really powerful stuff.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that really jumps out from this report is just how dynamic this sector is. I mean, between 2016 and 2022, employment in life sciences and health tech in the UK grew by 16%.
Wow.
Now, to put that into context, that's a lot faster than average across all UK industries.
Yeah, and it's not just about the number of jobs either.
Right.
This sector really contributes a lot to the economy. Like, we're talking 36.9 billion in gross value added every year.
Wow.
So that's like, almost 37 billion being generated just by this sector. Really important for the UK.
Yeah. Now, looking ahead, the projections are pretty ambitious, aren't they? I mean, the report suggests that there could be something like 70,000 more jobs by 2035, which is a huge number. It suggests that things are going to change a lot in the UK, and it means we need to think really carefully about where we're going to find all the people to fill these jobs.
Yeah, it's both an opportunity and a challenge.
Right. So how did they come up with that number? I mean, the report talks about different possibilities for growth, doesn't it?
Yeah, they've got three scenarios. They've got a low growth scenario,
okay,
which predicts about a 13% increase in jobs. So that'd be something like 36,000 new jobs.
Okay.
Then they've got their kind of middle of the road scenario, which they call continuation.
Right.
And that one says a 24% growth, which is where that 70,000 number comes from.
Okay.
And then they've got a high growth scenario.
Right.
Which is a bit more optimistic. They say maybe as much as 44% growth, which would mean over 106,000 new jobs.
Wow.
Yeah, so there's quite a range there, which just shows that it's hard to predict the future.
Right. And how is this job creation split between biopharma and medtech?
Okay, so in that continuation scenario, biopharma, which is all about developing new drugs,
right,
that's expected to create about 33,000 jobs.
Okay.
And medtech, which is more about medical devices and technology, that's expected to create about 37,000 jobs.
Okay.
What's interesting is that the report suggests that medtech is a bit more stable.
Okay.
So it might grow a bit more steadily, whereas biopharma, it can be a bit more up and down.
Right. So drug development might have bigger swings.
Yeah, exactly.
But the need for new medical technology is probably a bit more consistent.
Yeah, probably.
And where is all this activity happening? I mean, where are these jobs actually located in the UK?
Well, right now, most of the jobs are in the greater southeast.
Okay.
Which is, places like London and the southeast and the east of England.
Right.
And that's where about 49% of all the life sciences jobs are.
Okay, so almost half the jobs in the whole country are in the greater southeast.
Yeah, and that's because That's where a lot of the big universities are
Right.
and the big pharmaceutical companies.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But other parts of the UK are also seeing growth in this sector.
Okay, so it's not just London in the southeast.
No, definitely not.
Are there any particular areas that are doing well?
Yeah, I mean, Northern Ireland, for example, they saw a 40% increase in life sciences jobs between 2016 and 2022.
Wow, that's a big jump.
Yeah, so it shows that this growth is happening all over the UK.
Right, but that also presents a bit of a challenge, doesn't it? Because if the jobs are spread out all over the country, then you need to make sure that the people with the right skills are also spread out all over the country.
Exactly. It's a logistical challenge as well as an opportunity.
Yeah. Let's talk about skills then. What kind of expertise is going to be most in demand as this sector grows?
Okay, so the report talks about 3 main categories of skills. The first one is core scientific expertise, which is kind of what you'd expect. It's, the basic science stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Biology, chemistry, medicine.
Yeah, the fundamentals.
Yeah. The second category is broader operational skills. That's things like manufacturing, regulatory affairs, business management.
Okay, so it's not just about the science.
No, you need all those other skills as well.
Yeah.
And then the third category is emerging tech skills. And this is where things are getting really interesting
Yeah, emerging tech.
because, technology is changing so fast.
Right.
And the life sciences sector is really embracing a lot of these new technologies.
Yeah, it's becoming more and more important.
And what's interesting is that, these 3 categories, they're not really separate anymore.
Right.
They're all kind of overlapping and influencing each other.
So you need people who can bridge the gap between the science and the technology.
Exactly. You need people who can understand the science, but also who can use the technology to apply that science and to make new discoveries.
Yeah, that makes sense. And are there any specific areas within those emerging tech skills that are particularly important?
Yeah, I mean, IT and computer science are huge right now.
Right.
Like they make up about 13% of all the job postings in the life sciences.
Wow, 13%, that's a lot.
Yeah, and that includes jobs like software developers,
Okay.
data scientists, who are really important for analyzing all the data that's being generated in biology these days.
Right, big data.
Yeah, and biostatisticians who use statistics to understand biological and medical data.
Okay, so there's a lot of different roles within that IT and computer science space.
Yeah, absolutely. And then there's also a lot of recruitment and business management, which is about 12%.
Okay.
Healthcare is also about 12%.
Okay.
And then engineering is about 7%. And more traditional science roles are also about 7%.
So it's a really broad range of expertise that's needed.
Yeah, definitely. It's not just about, people in white coats in a lab.
Right. And the report also talked about the importance of digital skills and data skills and research skills and business skills.
Yeah, all those are really important.
And I think AI was mentioned specifically as well.
Oh, yeah, AI is huge.
Yeah.
Like the report says that the life sciences sector needs more people with AI skills than almost any other sector in the UK.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, and it's growing really fast. Like
Yeah.
at the moment, about 2% of life sciences job postings mention AI skills,
Okay.
which doesn't sound like a lot, but it's actually double the UK average.
Right. So it's twice as much as in other sectors.
Yeah, and it's particularly concentrated in biopharma.
Okay.
So that shows you where the real cutting edge is.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So what kind of specific AI skills are they looking for?
Well, artificial intelligence and machine learning are the big ones.
Okay. Those are kind of the general terms.
Yeah, but they're also looking for people who know about deep learning and specific software frameworks like TensorFlow.
Right. So they need people who can actually do the work.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So we've talked about growth. We've talked about the different types of jobs. We've talked about the skills that are needed. Where are the potential bottlenecks? Where are the skills gaps that could slow down this growth? And how does this all relate to in-silico technologies?
Okay, well, this is where things get really interesting. The report specifically says that we need more people with skills in artificial intelligence, data modeling, and digital innovation.
Okay. So that all ties back to what we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, and it's all connected to the rise of in-silico technologies.
Right. In-silico.
Which, for people who haven't heard that term before, it basically means done on a computer.
Okay.
So it's about using computers to simulate biological processes, which is becoming really important in drug discovery, development, and even manufacturing.
So if we don't have enough people with those skills, then we're not going to be able to use these new technologies effectively.
Right. The report also says that there's been a big increase in the number of job postings that mention IT skills, like a 7% increase between 2021 and 2023-24.
Okay.
And science and research skills have also gone up, by about 10% in biopharma and 11% in medtech.
So those are the foundational skills.
Yeah, you need those skills to be able to do the in-silico work.
Right.
And in biopharma specifically, they're looking for people with expertise in things like biomedical imaging and bioinformatics,
Okay.
which are really important for in-silico drug discovery.
And it's not just about the technical skills, is it? Because as these new in silico technologies become more common, there are also implications for regulation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you need to make sure that these new technologies are being used safely and ethically.
Right. And the report actually shows that there's a growing demand for people with skills in law, regulation, and compliance.
Okay, so they need people who understand the rules.
Yeah, because as in silico tools become more important in the drug development process, we need to make sure that we're using them in a way that meets all the regulatory requirements.
Yeah, that makes sense. So it's a really complex ecosystem.
Yeah,
You need the technical skills, you need the scientific skills, you need the legal skills. It's all connected.
it all fits together.
What about education? What does the report say about the qualifications of people working in the life sciences?
Okay, so the life sciences sector is really reliant on highly educated people.
Yeah, okay.
Like 70% of the workforce have a degree or equivalent,
Wow, 70%.
which is almost double the UK average.
Right, so it's a very highly skilled workforce.
Yeah, definitely.
And are employers specifically asking for degrees and job postings?
Yeah, they are. Like
No.
43% of life sciences job postings mention educational qualifications,
Okay.
which is, again, much higher than the UK average, which is only 22%.
Wow, that's a big difference.
And of those postings, almost 80% say that you need at least a bachelor's degree.
Okay, so a degree is pretty much essential if you want to work in this sector.
Yeah, it seems that way.
Are there any particular degrees that are particularly in demand?
Yeah, so the report lists the top jobs that graduates go into.
Okay.
And these include traditional life science roles like biochemists and biomedical scientists,
Okay.
biological scientists, chemical scientists,
Right.
laboratory technicians.
So all the classic science roles.
Yeah. But it also includes programmers and software development professionals.
Right. So there's that IT and computer science link again.
Yeah, which just shows how important those skills are becoming.
Yeah. And what about apprenticeships? Are they playing a role in this sector?
Yeah, so the report says that there are more and more higher level and degree level apprenticeships,
Okay.
which suggests that employers are recognizing the need for more advanced technical skills.
Right.
But the overall number of apprenticeships hasn't really changed much.
Okay.
It's just that they're becoming more advanced.
So it's a shift towards higher level qualifications.
Yeah, exactly.
And geographically, where are these graduates finding jobs?
Well, most of them are ending up in the Golden Triangle,
The Golden Triangle.
which is the southeast of England, the east of England, and London.
Okay.
And that's because that's where most of the big universities and companies are.
Right. So it's a bit of a self-reinforcing cycle.
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay. Let's zoom out a little bit and look at the UK in a global context. How does the UK's life sciences sector compare to other countries?
Well, one thing the report highlights is that the UK's growth in life sciences has actually been slower than some of our competitors, like the US and Singapore.
Okay.
And that's a bit of a worry because it suggests that we might be falling behind.
Right.
And it's not just about jobs either. It's also about investment in research and development.
So the UK isn't investing as much as other countries.
Yeah, that seems to be the case.
Okay. What about international talent? How important is that for the UK life sciences sector?
Well, it's really important. Like 25% of the workforce in the UK life sciences sector were born outside the UK.
Okay, so a quarter of the workforce.
Yeah, which is higher than the UK average, which is 19%.
Okay.
And it's even higher for professional occupations, where it's 31%.
Wow, so almost a third of all professionals in this sector are from overseas.
Yeah, so it shows that the UK needs to be able to attract talent from all over the world.
Yeah, if we want to stay competitive.
Exactly.
Okay, so to wrap things up, what are the key takeaways from this report? What are the main things that we need to do to ensure the future growth of the UK life sciences sector?
Well, the big message is that we need to keep learning.
Okay, lifelong learning.
Yeah, because things are changing so fast in this sector that the skills you have today might not be relevant in 5 or 10 years.
Right, so you need to keep updating your skills.
Exactly. And the report also emphasizes the importance of collaboration.
Okay, so between different groups.
Yeah, like between industry, government, and educational institutions.
So everyone needs to work together.
Yeah, to make sure that we have the right skills for the future.
And are there any specific initiatives that are already happening?
Yeah, there are a few things mentioned in the report,
Okay.
like the Medicines Manufacturing Skills Center of Excellence, which is called Resilience,
Okay.
and the Industry Skills Accelerator.
So those are government-backed programs.
Yeah, and they're both aimed at improving the skills base in the sector.
Okay, so there are some concrete steps being taken.
Yeah, there are.
So to summarize what we've learned today, the UK life sciences and health tech sector is set to grow a lot in the coming years, with tens of thousands of new jobs expected by 2035. This growth is being driven by new technologies like AI and In-Silico methods, which means that we need to make sure that we have the right skills to support these technologies. We need people who understand data science, who can work with computers, and who can apply these skills to biological and medical challenges. And we need to make sure that we're training people for these jobs, both through traditional education routes like university degrees and through apprenticeships. And we need to make sure that the UK is an attractive place for talented people from all over the world to come and work.
Yeah, it's a really exciting time to be working in this sector.
Absolutely. And it's an area that has the potential to make a real difference to people's lives.
No doubt about it.
So for our listeners, I'd like to leave you with a question. As all these new computational tools become more and more integrated into the life sciences, how do you think the roles of biologists, chemists, and clinicians will change? What do you think those jobs will look like in 10 years' time? And what do you think are the most important things that people in this sector can do to keep their skills up to date?
That's a great question.
It's something to think about, isn't it? The future of work in this sector is going to be very different from the past, and we need to be prepared for that.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, well, thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the UK life sciences and health tech sector. It's been a really interesting discussion, and I hope you found it useful.
Thanks for having me.
And we'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.